Hello and welcome to Guy Logic. My name is Temko and today we are taking a look at a game called Battlesouls. It is a 5v5 MOBA-like arena combat game. It is free to play and developed by Pixeleap and also published by Pixeleap. I'm going to assume that's a word on Pixeleap with one L, but who knows. So what is the game all about? Well, like I said, it's a 5v5 MOBA light-ish battle arena game. You take over a central crystal, which then allows the enemy base to be attacked. First team that kills the enemy's base primary crystal 3 times wins the round, and then it loads up the next round. Pretty straightforward. You do so by selecting a loadout of 3 heroes, between which you can switch on the fly. Like I said, the game is free to play, so we're gonna first take a look at the settings, options, and dive into the shop and its microtransaction model and talk a little bit about that before we dive into gameplay. If you do not want to hear me talk about options and a microtransaction model, I suggest you press the annotation on screen and skip straight ahead to the gameplay section. So I do suggest you wait around because microtransactions, the way they plan on earning and making money, is pretty important to the overall feel and aesthetic and as well as gameplay perspective of the game for players. So, options wise, well, we press the options menu, go to settings. It has quite a few options. The resolution scaling is pretty interesting. This option menu is pretty complete. It has most texture quality, shadows, AA, and object detail going all the way up to ultra. It's a Unity game, so this is to be expected that these are sort of go from low, medium, high to ultra. Pretty normal naming for a Unity title. It has what you'd expect in terms of options. It does not constrain mouse to window, which is a bit of a shame, but you don't really use the mouse during gameplay except for aiming, and at that point it is annoying, so make up your own mind regarding that. Audio-wise, it has 3 slides for master, effects, and music volume. I feel these are more or less enough. There are some narrator-like things in the game regarding announcements, but you can mostly consider these effects and not actual narration or dialogue. Controls are rebindable, so that is pretty good. No complaints on that at all, and you can change mouse sensitivity, though why you would want to do that is beyond me. Which brings us to the end of the options menu. The game does run fine even on ultra settings on my GTX 780, running at a smooth 60 FPS at 1080p at all times on maxed out settings. My problems with this game start though is the microtransaction model. If we head into shop, you'll see straight up that it's pretty empty. Now I waited on purpose until the very day before release to record this segment, and the shop is still pretty much empty. They have 2 kill effects, one is $5.50 and the other is $7. And then they have a bunch of portraits you can unlock ranging from $1.50 to $3 that don't really do anything. Now while I applaud action games that do not have benefits to buying stuff, only unlocks that are cosmetic or otherwise insignificant to the actual progression and to the competitive side of the game, it does require them to be actually implemented, which they clearly are not. So talking about what you can buy in the game, not a lot. So what would keep you playing then? Is it the characters? Is it anything like that? And the answer to that is pretty much not really, because there aren't any characters to choose from. There's also no skins, no bundles, no pets, no emotes, nothing like that implemented at all. So if you're wondering why this game is coming out when it is clearly a technical alpha, is beyond me, but the game is definitely coming out on May 12th. Let's go ahead and into some gameplay, I'd say, and see what is going on and whether or not you should spend your time on this title, and more importantly, whether or not you should spend your money. Hint, you shouldn't because it's not finished. If we head into Quickplay, you will be able to see that the game is trying to find a match. Once it finds a match, or if it can't find enough players, it will create a match with bots, which is pretty frequent. Obviously, this is pre-release, so in the beta, there aren't a lot of players active. But something tells me that during the live environment, there's not going to be a lot of players active either. Because honestly, the game is beyond basic and beyond bare in what it does. And while I would love to tell you this game is great, and that the game does a great job of doing things, the answer is that it really doesn't. What it does is do a completely adequate job of doing a couple of adequate things, and then it doesn't do anything else. So you have a couple of heroes you can choose from. You select 3 heroes, and each of these heroes have 2 abilities. You have a primary and a secondary ability, and when you switch between one and the other character, you have a special change effect that takes place. For example, this character heals everyone around herself, including herself, which is pretty cool if you're changing to her from a different character after you've taken a bunch of damage. And that is pretty much it. Each of these characters, and there's a 5 total, has 2 abilities as well as a change ability, and that is what you play with. So let's go ahead and dive into some gameplay, and I'll show you what is going on with the gameplay. So once you've selected the game and the game loads you in, you will either be in a match in progress or start up in a fresh warm-up section. If the game can't find enough players, it will just fill up the rest with AI opponents. Now the goal of the game, as far as I've seen, there's only one game mode. The goal of the game is to kill a crystal on your enemy's base. Once you've killed 3 of these crystals, you win the round. To be able to attack this crystal, you have to take the central structure, which is called an inhibitor. And generally speaking, even though there is about 3 or 4 maps I've encountered, all the maps are structured in more or less the same way. On one side is one team, on the other side is the other team, and straight smack mat in the center of them is the inhibitor. Once you damage the enemy crystals and they take over the inhibitor, that damage remains, but even though you can't attack until you take back the inhibitor again. So it's mostly a game of back and forth. Whoever controls the inhibitor then tries to rush the enemy crystals, but has to make sure that they keep people to defend the inhibitor so they can actually damage the crystal, and so on and so forth. The base gameplay of the game isn't actually bad. The switching between the 3 character classes that you have available in your loadout is pretty interesting and really finely detailed. The characters don't feel overpowered one from the other. Each of them has their strengths and weaknesses, and the ability to switch between them does allow you a bit of variety in what you're trying to do. It does allow you to surprise your opponent if you have a loadout class you've not yet shown, and they try to go into melee really fast. You can just draw out a knight with a big shield and have him die straight up because they can't damage you. The downside though of this is that everything else around the game just isn't finished. And if this game was coming out in early access, or if this was just coming out as a prototype, I would applaud the game, what they're trying to do, and love to see what they do a year and a half down the line once they've fleshed out the title. But as it stands, this is all there is to the title. You play a match, that match will last you anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes. Once you complete the match, you load up the next map, and that is really it. You get experience, you level up, and you unlock some icons for your account. It doesn't really do anything else. There's no achievements to unlock, there's no new character classes to unlock, there's no titles, no pets, no bonuses, no benefits. There isn't really anything to unlock outside of a couple of icons for your account, and that just isn't enough. Also, the NPCs in the game, the AI that the game fills out with, if there's not enough players, only use the mage class, which is not only repetitive, dull, and boring, but also just not finished. You expect a bit more out of that. They always follow the same base logic, that they'll rush the inhibitor, and if the crystal is being attacked, they'll just all rush straight back to the crystal. They'll always focus the player in the enemy team instead of trying to spread their damage across multiple opponents. The AI is also just very, very simple and bare bones, which is a recurring theme with this title. It is bare bones. The only game mode available is this, and yes, there's 2 or 3 maps, but even that is mostly just different skins on the same map types. It's always 2 spawning camps and a inhibitor in the center. There's always 1 pickup somewhere on the map. In this map, it's below the tower with inhibitor. In a different map, it's right across the tower with inhibitor. There just isn't a lot of variety in gameplay at all. Once you've played the maps, and you do so in about 30 minutes, you've played everything the game has to offer. It doesn't really change. Now, is there a competitive side to the game, where 5v5 players from across the world can battle it out and see who is actually better? Yes, I'm sure there is, but even then, I cannot see how this game would have enough players to sustain a viable competitive scene where games like League of Legends, Dota, Overwatch, Battleborn, just to name a few, already have the market locked down for exactly this type of 5v5 or 6v6 or 4v4 arena-style combat. And they do it a lot better as well. Now, let's take a look at some of the other aspects of the game outside of the combat, which we've already discussed is pretty bare bones. Sound and music, also very bare bones. Yes, the sounds are in the game, and they do exactly what they should. You know when you're taking damage, you know when you die, but the music is bland and barely there, and the game sounds are nothing spectacular to write home about. If we take a look at graphics, again, they do exactly what they should. They convey exactly what they are, but that's really it. Even on ultra settings, the game doesn't look particularly nice. Big, blocky, coloring textures that do look interesting, but are not detailed at all. This is something I'd expect from a title circa 2010, and not a title in 2016. A really damn shame. Also, speaking about character animations, they are ludicrously repetitive. Even the death and kill animations just don't have any feel to them. It feels like you're slashing paper mache air, and it's just not finished. And that really brings me down to my final and major point of the title. There just isn't enough here. There aren't enough items in the shop to purchase even if you want to spend money on the game. There is not enough progression to keep you interested to keep playing even if you would want to do so. There is not enough characters to provide enough variety even in a match between 3 opponents, let alone a match between 10 opponents. You can't even create custom games or custom lobbies or anything of the sort. It just feels that this game was an interesting concept that's been pushed out of the gate under the guise of free-to-play in the hope that they somehow will have a chance to improve the game over the next 20 years to make it a passable, viable arena fighting game. And that's a shame, because I see a lot of hope for this title, just not the way it is right now. It needs a year in the oven, and it's not getting that. So as such, I just can't recommend it. Did I have fun? Yeah, for an hour or so. But after that, I was done. I'd seen everything the game has to offer. So, you want to check out Battlesouls? It's coming out on Steam on May 12th. It is free to play, like I said, with a microtransaction model, and you can check it out for yourself should you desire to do so. So thank you for watching. If you like this video, press the like button below. If you didn't like this video, well, there's a dislike button for exactly that purpose. And leave a comment. Tell us what we can do better, and tell us what you liked. We want to hear back from all of you. And if you want to see more content like this on the channel, just press the subscribe button below and we will deliver. And until then, I wish you a good day, and until next time, right here on Guy Logic.